Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome to the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer 4 presented by RaceVoice, here live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Adam Hadfield, joined in the box with me tonight on cameras Mark Tranter and the sultry tones of Sam Fitzpatrick, bringing you all the action from tonight's racing here at Tsukuba in Japan. It's 2022 Season 2, round 2 of our Weekend Warriors series. Sam, how are you looking forward to tonight?
Well, I'm really looking forward to this because it's so different to what we had last week. Last week we had Monza, and then we go to pretty much the most opposite circuit possible here at Tsukuba. We've got over 45 drivers on the grid. Going to be crazy. One of the most crowded races I think you'll ever see in sim racing, so it's going to be quite a unique one.
Yeah, that's it's rather a bit smaller than Monza, isn't it? I think I've just looked it up as a third of the size. Monza 3.6 miles all the way around. Tiny little Tsukuba, just 1.2 miles. So we're going to fit a lot of action in, not just in our time span, but on the track surface as well. So as I mentioned, round 1 is already in the books. Showing you up on screen now the results of the round 1 and the season standings as they concur. Aero Nom we saw win last night, and so claims top points with 101 ahead of Austin Winner, who came home second, and Maurizio Naselli, our third place driver just last week. Friends Arabian holds 4th place from Paolo Gori. Jörg Marni, Bobby West, Jason Perry, Rasmus Furry and Jason Green are your top 10 in the pro standings. In the Spec 2 standings, Thomas Renders came home 7th overall last night, winning out in Spec 2, managed to claim 68 points from himself, a 10-point buffer from his nearest rival Todd Hansen and Edgar Sancinelli. Fabio Andalo, Al McCain, John Botenga, Andrea Favini, Cravo, Satulo and Gibson, your top 10 in the Spec 2 standings. Expect that to chop and change throughout the season. And finally, our Masters drivers. These drivers all aged over 55 get to have their own little category marked yellow. Chris Murakami, as ever, at the head of those standings, won out in the Masters class, finished 9th overall at Monza, just a couple of places ahead of Antonio Reyes. It was a close one in the end, which we weren't expecting based on the qualifying. Marcus Burkitt in 3rd in standings from Kurt Nunez. Stevie Ray, our series founder, in 5th place from Bob Kern. Adam Bradshaw, Jim Brewster and Michael Janae. I can name all of the Masters drivers because it's just a small field compared with the rest of us. 45 drivers tonight. They're all going to be looking to maintain their high standings or climb up the ladder. Who have you got your eye on tonight, Sam?
Well, I think once again we will see familiar drivers near the top. Aero Nom so impressive last time out at Monza. But we did see Austin Winner really cut it close. And it's not going to be quite the same as Monza. Last time out we saw a lot of pack racing. It was very much a question of could anyone break away from the lead pack, and in the end we saw Winner and Nom be able to do that. It's going to be very different tonight though, because it's going to be much more tricky to, or it's going to be much more possible to pull away, because there isn't that same draft effect. And the strategy as well may vary a little bit more. A free space out in front of you is going to be more important, and of course we might have lapping as well. So I think certainly Norman Winner once again the favourites, but yeah, they are going to need to deal with a lot of different elements. I think, I can say for certain we're currently in a warm-up session, just 5 minutes, apologies, until we go live for the race. I think we might be able to, maybe just show your qualifying results actually, seeing that they will form the grid, because they're not actually down in I think 5th position for the grid, which is a little bit lower than what I'd expect out of them.
Yeah, as they pop up on screen for you now, Maurizio Naselli taking the pole position with a 1 minute dead almost, just 32 thousandths over the 1 minute line. Austin Winner claims 2nd place on the grid, just 800ths behind him, barely seeing off Ferenc Arabian, who claims 3rd place. Marco Pinero, Aero Nom, as you mentioned, down in 5th, 3/10 off the pole time. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that, I imagine, but then again, he didn't win it off pole last week out. He can make his moves and move up through the field, as we very well know. Joining him on the 3rd row will be Yuangxi Lin, then Matthias Weiger, Evandro Dantas, Steve Ellison and Jason Perry, our top 10 drivers, all in the Spec 1 Pro category. Thomas Renders continues his great form in Spec 2, qualifying 11th there, ahead of Jason Green. Chris Murakami, again for the Masters, leading off from 13th place. Aidan Campbell, Jesus Rodriguez, Miro Hratsky, Andrea Favini and Andrew Love, the top 18. As we wait for the scroll, Drew Simpkins claims 19th ahead of Stevie Ray, Jim Brewster, Kurt Nunez, Alan McCain, Brian Short, Samuel Dick in 25th and Paul Jackson in 26th for GITS Motorsport. Adam Bradshaw claims 27th ahead of Artur Rego. Brian Flagg and Joshua Flores back on row 15. These guys are second off the pole, but you can see each gap between each car less than a tenth. Really close racing tonight we're expecting on such a short track. Edgar Sancinelli claims 31st ahead of Antonio Reyes. He was down the grid last week out. He's going to have to pull out another storming drive to get up to Murakami tonight. Todd Hansen in 33rd ahead of Bob Kern, James Lopez, Jose Santiago, Nico Shook, a new name to the series tonight, in 37th. Jeff Cantor back in 38th. Gary Waltbolt and Guillaume Cravo, Gianni Longin, Andreas Bertoni, Aaron Vogel, Tom Laurie, Michael Vaglini back in 45th ahead of Flavio Andalo. Again, he likes to come from the back, doesn't he, Flavio? Doesn't set a time, just sees how far he can climb up the field and claim that biggest mover award. Marcus Burkett in 47th, Chris Montgomery back in 48th, and I believe that is your full 48-car grid for tonight.
Yeah, it's good that we went through that grid during the warm-up, because it's a very big grid, and it takes a while to get through it all. And yeah, just 48 cars around this race. It's going to be absolutely crazy. We're going to have drivers lined up halfway down the back straights. Of course, it's going to be so many cars around this track. And it should be some really good action. Quite a fun circuit, I would say, this one. And I don't think it's necessarily the best to race on, particularly because it is just so narrow and there's very few straights. You know, these are sort of the most powerful cars that you can really race around this track. But in terms to drive, there's so much camber around a lot of these tracks that it's a brilliant hot lapping circuit, and that's sort of what it's used mainly for in real life.
Yeah, this circuit not known for its racing in the real world, is it? It's got its YouTube fame for time attack competitions more than anything. But we're going to use it for its racing potential tonight. Thankfully, these are sort of low-powered cars, so it's a little bit more suited to them. Whilst we're just into the last minute of practice, the race warm-up, I'll take you through RaceVoice sponsorship. RaceVoice is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Weekend Warriors Spec Race Ford Racing Series. Take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. K miles per hour, turn entry, exit speeds, upshift alerts and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by yourself. Go faster with the speed of voice. Plus, Weekend Warriors get 50% off annual SIM pricing using the promo code of WW50. So take your chance and check them out at www.racevoice.com.
Yeah, as we see the drivers start to line up, and yeah, we are going to use this entire back straight then before the rolling start. They only do one corner then before we get to the green flag, so not much time for the tyres to warm up. Not that that's too much of a problem around this circuit, as the final few drivers just getting onto the grid right now. There is Naselli at the top of the standings. Aaron Norman, of course, the winner last time out. Winner was in second place last time out, and yeah, we wait to see who's going to come out on top. Really, I'd say all of these top five, as far as I can recall, Adam, were all near the front. We're in that lead pack in the first few minutes at Monza, so I mean they've all got race-winning capabilities.
Yeah, we lost Arabian early, didn't we, last week out when he skipped over the first chicane. But otherwise, yeah, all those drivers who were at the front this week were there last week, all well capable of taking home some silverware tonight as the pace car sets off. As you mentioned, we're starting from the back straight, so I'm very glad we ran through the grid a couple of minutes ago. I wouldn't have time to even do the top 10 otherwise. Pace car immediately into the pit lane. Naselli controls the pace. 48 cars side by side, crawling up to the line. We wait for the lights. The front two of the grid, and Naselli's off. Naselli's gone very early. I think he's caught Winner a little bit by surprise there. Immediately gets a little bit of a gap. And Pinero comes around the outside of Winner, but Winner holds on to second there. Good start from the front few rows. Wangshi Lin there, we see in the background. Are they all going to get through turn one? It looks like they are for the moment. A couple of three wide towards the back. We're looking at flag at the moment. As we flick through 2 and 3 and then into the tightest hairpin on the corner, that cambered turn 4. And again, they all seem to have kept it on the black stuff. Good opening, a couple of corners from everyone there.
Yeah, that was high quality stuff, particularly around the second hairpin where it's so easy to get a car stuck on the apex, but despite a bit of a slop, a little bit of contact, I'm sure they got through it fairly cleanly. So Pinero then the big advantage, he's up one place as we have now got an instant, that's at the third hairpin there. Sancinelli was involved, Bertoni was also involved, and a few others as well, maybe McCain I think may have got involved in all of that mess. They will have a faster pair, however they'll be able to go into the pits. I think they might be able to get to the end of the race from here. You'll know more about this than I, Adam, but yeah, I'm not sure if they'll be able to get to the end as Weiger is about to say against Elson here, and that is Weiger already losing one place from his starting place, and he's at the threat of losing another place as well here. He stays in 9th position. There's also Batsing behind with Renders and Perry going alongside. Perry just with the slight upper hand here, but he's got the outside line. He's now forced off the track and he's into the wall, and that's right into the middle of the circuit as well. One of the cars pretty much just glitches straight through him. Unfortunately, Perry gets escorted to the outside of the track. That was just a little bit of contact, but there is no runoff round here. Straight into the barrier and bounce straight back onto track.
Did a little barrel roll for us in the middle there as well, didn't he? He was getting beat up in the middle of the circuit as well. On the exit of turn 4, seemed to get hooked up with someone, and then just never got left alone until ending in the barriers on the inside. That's his race run after only 2 laps. We go on board with Stevie Ray now. He's got to run down into turn 1. This is a good overtaking opportunity. Keeps down to the apex. Oh, but the number 337's Simpkins is holding on. Juiced our Dutch driver. Claims the inside through 2, 3 and into 4, sees off Stevie Ray for the moment. Stevie will come back at him no doubt as we continue through lap 3. Lots of battles throughout the field already. This short twisty little circuit providing lots of action. We mentioned that the drivers might get a little bit more spread out on a short circuit like this. Oh, has Reyes been involved in that one? Santiago goes out to the barriers.
Yeah, Nunez I think going into the barriers there, and yeah, was there a slight tap? I think there may have been. Reyes a little bit slow as well, straight after, sort of indicating a little bit of contact as well. Very easy to do, as I've got based on the paint spot them, but they are in different teams, I believe. And yeah, it was just a little bit of a tap, and Nunez will be very annoyed with that one. I think he's had to tow back to the pits. Yeah, he has had to tow back to the pits. Pick up his fast pair, but that's still really frustrating for him. Of course, lots of cars to overtake now to get anywhere near back to where he was.
Yeah, Reyes just misjudged the gap he was aiming for there, didn't he? Thought he'd have a car width when they got on the brakes. It wasn't the case. His rival pays the price as we head back to the leaders now. Naselli, straight off of pole, has kept his lead. He's taken winner Pinero, Arabian and Nom with him. Breakaway 5 at the front at the moment. Wang Shilin, a couple of seconds off the back, and a couple of seconds is all it needs to break the tow. So Wang Shi won't have the benefit of any draft from the cars ahead. He's going to be battling with his 3 drivers that are with him, Dantas, Weiger and Elson. These guys at the back end of the top 10. Maybe if they work together and don't battle, they could work together back up to the front 5. Oh, as we've got another spinner. Someone else is around on the apex of 1.
Araski, it looks like.
Doing a little J-turn out of the way there, wasn't he? So we're watching Tom Renders, the number 641.
Ooh, another instant now for Simpkins and Ray, who I think we were watching a lap or 2 ago. That's it. It seems like they have come together. Ray loses about 10 positions in all of that. Simpkins also down about 5 places. And now Renders has had a problem. And yeah, so plenty of instants. So there was a Haraski, you can just see in the background there. Ray managing to gain a position out of that. And is it another rear tap? It is. It's another rear tap. In fact, actually, Ray was the one who lost out, and then the 377 of Simpkins was just unlucky in all of that mess. Ray was the big loser, but they'll both have damage from it.
Yeah, Ray locking it up, wasn't he there? Trying not to run into the car in front, desperately trying to slow it down in time, and ended up spinning it, and took Juiced with him, unfortunately. It was the innocent party there, trying to go around the outside. He's back down now in 25th, trying to challenge Lopez. As we look at McCain now, McCain looks to have been in the wars a little bit, I think, as well. Slightly bent nose. Looking at the slightly bent rear of Tom Renders, who you just mentioned had some issues. Well, there's the evidence of it right off, Sam.
Yeah, that's going to be affecting his straight line speed a little bit. I doubt it'll be affecting his cornering speed too much, at least that's how it usually works in iRacing. So, and of course, if you're going to be losing straight line speed around any circuit, this is one of the best because there are barely any straights. By the time you get onto the throttle, you're almost immediately back onto the brakes. In fact, this is the longest straight you have on the entire circuit. And the king is fairly close here, 0.2 of a second behind Renders. And well, certainly from that angle, it doesn't look like Renders is losing too much down the straights anyway. The king closing in, of course, being assisted by the strong draft effects you have in these cars. And McCain going to have to wait a bit later on. We cut to Brewster, who is third place in the Masters category at the moment. The drivers do get points for their overall positions, so even if you see drivers who are in different classes battling against one another, the red of course indicating the C1 class, and then the green representing the C2, and the yellow indicating the Masters. You do still want to beat drivers in the other classes. You will still score points for that, so very important are these battles. And Brewster currently keeping behind Reyes. That is a battling class, so it will mean a little bit more as well.
Yeah, the more opposing drivers you can get between you and your class rivals, obviously the more points you'll score relative to them, the better it is for you in the championship as you make a bigger gap in the standings. Looking from the back of Brewster now, he's going to try and hold on to this third place and see off Antonio Reyes. We mentioned at the start, going to try and climb up from his slightly poor qualifying position. Oh, we've got side by side, Favini and Campbell. Favini's snatched that position away, I think, there. Our leader in Spec 2, chasing our leader in the Masters class now. The effervescent Chris Murakami in the 901. He's always at the front of the Masters, it seems.
Favini's up 6 places. Awesome work from the Swedish driver, seemingly very pacey right now. Was a little bit slow actually than Campbell on that last lap, so Campbell certainly not being left behind by those drivers, but Murakami was the slowest out of this pack of 4. And maybe Rodriguez as well was faster, so he might make this a pack of 5. If they cannot clear Murakami soon, Murakami has to go defensive into turn 1. It's a very wide entry to turn 1. Look at the outside move as well. I think he's just pushed it a bit too hard there, Campbell, but nearly was able to mug Babini there. He was stuck on the inside himself. If Campbell was a little bit earlier on the brakes, maybe he could have made that one stick as Green gains a couple of car lengths in the braking zone of turn 2.
Deep on the brakes from Jason Green there, wasn't it? I thought for a second he was going to duck down and use the green concrete on the inside. It is an option for a passing move down there. If you slot it in there, take your rival up high on the exit, but not a recommended one. It's going to be a bit of a dive, and you're going to have some complicity from your rival if you try that one. Not a move for the first opening 10 minutes, is it? Maybe for the last couple of laps if you're really desperate to gain an extra position. As Murakami fires it into the final corner, turn 9. And on the inside there, you can see the pit lane that runs on the inside of turn 9. That's going to be a feature of tonight, I imagine. Tricky little pit lane to entry at speed. Obviously, everyone wants to take maximum advantage wherever they can, and I can foresee some drivers maybe overcooking it around there because it's very, very narrow.
Brewster has had an issue, it seems. Ooh, is that Brewster there? Yeah, it was Brewster. So I saw him go down the order, and you can see how much damage. Well, that might even be steering damage because both corners on that car look heavily damaged. Must have been contact through turn 1 because he seemed quite far away from either barrier, either side of the track. I'm pretty sure you certainly could get to the end of the race from here, because it should be really low fuel consumption around this track, I imagine, because the thoughts offer so much, as we almost had 3 wide for a moment there. The 201 trying to make something happen, and now that's round for Loureiro, who was battling with Santiago, and Loureiro spins round, reverses off the track and tries to get back going, a little bit of contact as well with the wall. I think there was a little bit of contact there, not sure whose fault it was necessarily. It's interestingly, Brewster, despite that damage, deciding to stay out on track.
Yeah, that's interesting. You'd definitely be able to get back to the end on fuel from here. We saw drivers at Monza going for half an hour stints, didn't we? So it's more than capable of doing so here tonight round Tsukuba. I wonder if any of the drivers have found that actually they can go full race distance on the fuel.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting, especially with the draft. Not sure if it's in the rules that you absolutely have to, or whether it's just, you know, heavily encouraged, otherwise you'll run out of fuel. But yeah, cannot be far short, I imagine. These guys seem to be pushing a lot, so it seems like none of these guys are going to be doing that necessarily, having to go defensive here against Winner. Lin now 4 seconds behind us. Look at underneath there, Pinero. Could Pinero make a move? It's going to be on the outside for turn 2, so that's not going to happen around this part of the circuit. It's just there's a couple of kind of nothing corners, really narrows up the entry to turn 2, very tricky to make an overtake. But no, Lin only 4 seconds behind these guys, so he's still sort of in range if they do start to fight, and he could take advantage. So I think it's still worth Winner just staying behind necessarily for now, increasing that gap further, and make this a 5-car battle even more before really pulling the trigger. Still very early stages in this second round of the championship.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Naselli going defensive there. Normally the front runners are fairly cooperative at the start of the races. I wonder if because of the nature of this circuit it's quite easy to defend. You just take up an inside line. Maybe drivers are thinking any opportunity that comes their way tonight, they've got to take it no matter how early. And drivers on the defensive are also fully aware of that, want to hold their positions, make sure they don't give up anything at any point tonight. As we go on board with Aidan Campbell back in 12th at the moment, he's staring at the back of Favini. But more importantly, I think for him is Jason Green's right on his tail. As we go deep on the brakes into turn 1. It's a corner you can brake late into there, because it's one that you can sort of trail bait through and pick up a late apex. So we'll see drivers really pushing it deep into there. And again, right under the gearbox for the number 227. Getting a good look at the suspension there. Thankfully not unseating the driver ahead and tapping him into a spin, as we've seen already a couple of times tonight. Drivers just misjudging the closing speeds at times. 13 minutes into the race, this is a fantastic battle for what is 10th overall. There's 5 drivers all in the line. Max Rodriguez in 14th. As Naselli goes defensive once again.
Yeah, down to a quarter of a second the gap. And now we've got these back markers, which we knew were going to be a factor, as Marcus Burkitt's just ahead. And Burkitt seems to have got the memo, just going to let these drivers past.
Really? Ahead as well, isn't it? Who's been in for his quick fix.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's a big disadvantage as well for these guys who have had to take a pit stop early on. It loses you a lot of time having to let drivers past. And, I mean, right there, Burkitt probably just lost about 3 seconds having to let all of those drivers pass. So, well, the drivers in the midfield, really all the drivers, it's such a short circuit around here, you're going to lose a lap quite easily. Really worth staying out as long as you can, so that you're not getting laps unnecessarily. As Cantor goes for a gander out on the grass.
Yeah,
and
I think he got...
Yeah, seemingly in contact with Renders there for 27th position. And he's really lost touch now with that pack.
And again, Naselli defensive. It seems like it's going to be a feature of the race tonight, doesn't it? Down into turn 1, picking up the inside line, giving Austin Winner behind him absolutely no opportunity. And Pinero each time hopes that he can get an opportunity. He sniffs an opening every time the front 2 battle into that turn 1. He's not got through it yet though. As we go on board with the number 16. Takes a much tighter line than Austin Winner on that occasion. Through turn 6 and 7. Braking hard down into 8. Pick up the camber. Late apex. And then fire it out onto... Well, we'll call it a straight. It's not a very long one though.
Yes, super miniature is the track, as the 319 is very slow, got alongside between Flag and Renders, who of course had that contact beforehand. Is that Renders just moving past into 26th place. Now we've got a spin for Cravo. Fortunately, the drivers managed to split either way. And Cravo will lose a lot of places because of that. Into the pits comes Rodriguez. So he was at the back of that 5-car pack, just outside the top 10. That's quite an interesting one. Sort of makes sense here for Rodriguez to come into the pits. But the problem is that, you know, he's pitted to get out of traffic. Obviously, just going to come back into traffic. Admittedly, it'll be traffic which is a lot easier to overtake. But, yeah, could work well there for Rodriguez. Means that he doesn't have to get those moves done on track, but you will need to be very quick past the lower down runners that he's now going to overtake.
Yeah, I wonder if he's looking down the track and seeing the later cars, the positions 40 and backwards, sort of coming towards him, coming on the horizon. Thinks, let's not deal with those cars. Let's jump in the pits, get that one out of the way early, and then just set some hot laps. And with Bob Kern at the moment, the number 916, he's looking at Haraski ahead of him. These boys battling over 26th and 27th at the moment, as we're on lap 17 of the race. Already 16 minutes have gone by. It's fast and frenetic tonight.
It seems as though that pit stop for Rodriguez has put himself into a bit of clear air. I think you can see he's got 2-3 seconds to the next car. He's only got two cars in the next sort of 8 seconds. So I imagine Rodriguez would have been keeping an eye on the gaps to the drivers behind, and would have realised that there's a little bit of a gap that he could stop himself into. So going to be some big laps now from the Spanish driver to try to make those moves up. The closest pack is the pack out to the lead, but this is a good rival to it. Murakami just 1.5 tenths ahead of Campbell, and Campbell is doing absolutely everything to get past, and with Rodriguez going for the undercut, it's even more important now for him to make this move. He's on the outside through the final corner, carries way more speed. Can he get on the throttle earlier as well? It looks like he is going to be able to, but still partially alongside is his rival. He's going to try to cut across the nose if he possibly can at 38, but he was never fully ahead. And Murakami, who was defended for many laps already, he is trying to do so again, but now he's on the outside for the second hairpin. And so far tonight, we've seen the inside, the much better line. And it seems like finally Campbell has been able to get past Murakami, trying to go for the cutback. The gap was not available though, and Campbell moves up into the top 10, and that will be very satisfying for him.
Yeah, that's great driving between the two of them. Lots of respect shown. I'm really impressed with Campbell going right round the outside of turn 9 though. That must have been on the edge of his seat just for a second there. Oh, we've got Brian Shaw running a little bit wide there. Not usual to see drivers running off like that. Is he possibly damaged? I'm looking at him. He seems to make the apex on turn 8, so maybe just a momentary lapse in concentration. Jackson in behind him in the number 249. He's going to have the draft up to the final corner. Right in under the gearbox. He's going to pop out now. Decides to follow his rival short round turn 9. Down in 18th place at the moment for these guys, just outside of the lead positions in Spec 2. Interestingly, the stationary time for Rodriguez just 8.5 seconds, so it's a short stop tonight. As we mentioned, fuel almost get you to the end without stopping, so as we expect, I guess, drivers only going to be stopped for a short period of time. And tenths will count tonight. Certainly between these front 5 it will anyway, as Nacelle once again. You'd think the racing line was down there on the apex, wouldn't you? Every time we come through at the start of the lap, he's hugging the white line, trying to make sure winner has no opportunities. Pinero, Arabian and Nom still tacked onto the back of them, and Wong Shilin about 4 seconds off the back. That gap seems to have stabilised, but unfortunately for Wong Shi it's not closing, which is what he'd want at this point.
Of course, whilst Nacelle is the race leader right now, our winner, Pinero, Arabian and Nom, they'll all be saving fuel sitting behind. Not necessarily even lifting a coaster, but just you can save fuel almost accidentally because you're on the throttle less time, you've got less air resistance, and that is what all those drivers will be doing in comparison to Nacelle, who again is having to go defensive. Just needs to make sure he keeps this one tight. As long as you have the inside into each one of these corners, you should be safe. And you could tell that was exactly what Naselli was trying to do there. Now Pinero's going to try to go aggressive. Can Pinero get his car on the inside? I've seen this so many times, and it always ends up the same way. No changes between these top 5 since lap 1. The only change being Pinero managing to get past Arabian right off the launch, but that has been the only change so far. Lin now 4.4 seconds behind, so he's maintaining that gap, is Lin. He's not closing it in. He's going to need more some battling between those drivers. And for now, these guys have got a little bit of respite from the traffic. You've got a few cars ahead of them, but it's not too bad. But I think it's going to be later on in the race when we get to the last sort of 10 minutes or so that traffic becomes a real problem, and especially when the drivers start to pit very soon as well.
Yeah, despite the defensive driving from Naselli and Winner, they are still setting exact same times as Wang Shilin, pretty much right down to the 10th. So unless Wang Shilin can find a little bit of extra time, he's not going to be doing any closing. As we're watching Elson now enter the pits, nice and steady, hits his marks.
Oh, has Naselli had a problem? Has Winner and Pinero come together? I think we may have just had a big incident between the top 3. And it means Arabian is now in the lead, and Nom is up into 2nd place into turn 1. There must have been a collision between the top 3.
Here we go, we've got it on replay. Naselli's going to do his favourite trick of moving to the right, I imagine. There he goes. Austin Winner on the outside. Oh, and he just tries to sneak it in front of Pinero. Pinero didn't see it coming, and the 3 of them, nose to tail, force each other off. And through go Arabian and Nom, laughing their heads off, I imagine, as those 3 all contrive to have an accident. Naselli, I imagine, is going to be absolutely fuming. He's been doing that lap after lap after lap. The drivers behind him know what he's going to do. He's going to defend down there, and yet they've managed to have an accident.
Yeah, I wonder the 3rd driver in the line maybe gave a little bit of a tap himself. Pinero, I think it was. He gave a little bit of a tap himself, which kind of forced the driver ahead of him into Naselli, perhaps. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that. Mark Trenter, our producer, finding that for us. So were they going to make contact anyway? Oh, it's kind of tricky to tell, isn't it? Pinero certainly made contact. I think the 33 may have been making contact regardless, to be fair. So that's a tricky one to call. Winner into the pits, but he's been stationed now for 90 seconds. I guess that's the tow. So Winner having to get a tow back to the pits. He was the car number 33. So 2nd place last time out, not going to be scoring many points tonight. It is Longhin and Rodriguez, who has already pitted, remember, and Haraski. So Rodriguez, the only one to have pitted out of these guys. I think he's recently overtaken the pair of them.
Yeah, it was Austin Winner who was the meat in that sandwich, wasn't it? Who got squeezed out, shot out between 2 cars, straight into the wall. I almost mentioned it a couple of laps ago for Pinero. It's dangerous to be the 3rd car in the line, sticking your nose in, just sort of excavating for a little move, seeing if you can't claim something. Oh, we've got someone else off in the background. Who was that down at turn 8? We're looking at Longin at the moment. Whoever it was, they appear to have recovered. As we go back to Tom Renders and Joshua Flores. Flores looking for the switchback. Oh, doesn't quite have the momentum. Thomas Renders can cut him straight off into turn 1.
That was good from Renders. He's down 6 places from his start, actually. Flores is up 12 places, so they've sort of converged around the same part of the track, but of course problems way for both of them. Naselli is into the pit, so Naselli going for an earlier pit stop. Wonder if he picked up some damage from that incident. Maybe going to get that fixed in the pit lane. Don't really know why else he would want to come into the pits quite this early. Of course, going into the pits will mean that you have to run more fuel over the next few laps. You'll always take the same amount of fuel, but if you run it so that you're basically on an empty tank, that'll mean that you'll be on less fuel across the race, and that should give you a very small advantage, but it is still an advantage, still the theoretical best way to get to the end. Yeah, necessarily feeling the need to come to the pits there as the 933 all over the place. That was Brewster, who we've already seen have problems tonight, and he's lost, I think, 3 places.
Number 119. Sliding through turn 8 there. Yeah, we've already mentioned Brewster in the wars tonight. He's almost further in the wars. Oh, and now he's going to get a push from behind Bradshaw. Cars darting left and right. Oh, they all get it sorted in time for turn 9. All slot back in together. And Brewster, I imagine Brewster's a lap down on these boys, is he not? In fact, no, these guys are all a lap down, aren't they? Compared with our leaders, as Bradshaw looks to go right round the outside of Brewster. Brewster chops his nose off on the exit. When again, look, the 201 sticks his nose in. I'm always cautious of those kinds of moves. Whenever the third driver sticks it in looking for a little bit of a move, you wonder if the driver ahead of him's actually seen him coming or he's going to cut down and try and get a better exit. Oh, there's the 319's off as well. We seem to have
incidents ahead as well. I think Lorero's just gone off ahead of them.
We do seem to have a lot of cars in the scenery, don't we, Sam?
Yeah, you can see the grass marks in the grass, obviously, and Lorero hasn't pitted yet anyway, so probably not too significant, that one for Arthur, and he now comes into the pits himself. Oh, whoa, that's not a good rejoin. So it's not a good rejoin, and unfortunately causing contact there. There being a driver who was a lap down as well. So Lorero having to come into that pit stop. Fortunately, hadn't already used his faster pair. And Love being overtaken by Naselli there. So Naselli's still top of the drivers who have come into the pit. Second place is Steve Elson in that regard. But we are expecting Naselli to end up in third or fourth place around Lynn when all the pit stops are complete.
Yeah, pit transit time somewhere in sort of the mid 20 seconds, 27, 28 seconds. He's currently 25 seconds off the lead, but it isn't instantaneous from one end to the other. There'll be 3 or 4 seconds lost as he traverses the pit lane. So I imagine when Arabian and Nom finish their pits, he'll be about 2 seconds off the back of them as it stands. Which, all told, after that incident, he's probably survived and got away with one there. Could have very easily been a lot worse as Pinero joins the pit lane now.
Yeah, so Pinero lost out from that turn 1 incident more than Naselli, so no surprise that he's further back. And he is climbing up to the 10 seconds, still 10.5 seconds has been the average. A little bit shorter actually there for Pinero, only 9.5 seconds worth of fuel. The lowest 9 seconds, the highest sort of 14 seconds, but it seems like most of the front runners sort of 10 or 11 seconds right now. So that seems to be the go-to. Of course, it really varies depending on how much of a slipstream you have. All the drivers will be starting on the same amount of fuel. You want to go as far into the race as you possibly can. So no variance there. Lynn decides to come to the pit. So this will be an interesting one. Lynn and Vigo as well was fairly close behind. Where will Lynn be in comparison to Naselli? Because that's the battle for the final spot on the podium.
Yeah, that one's very interesting as we join Naselli now. Let's get our answer. He's round in the final bend. Longshi Lin should be at pit exit now. He is, according to the heads up on the left for us. Where is he? Is he going to find shot? There he is. He's behind Naselli. Naselli effectively claims third overall then at this point. Longshi Lin might be happy to see him. He can, rather than having a 4-second gap behind the leaders, he can hop onto Naselli's train, take the tow, and maybe stick with him right through to the end. We've only got 11 minutes of racing to go. That's the number 30, follows the number 44 now. They're in 7th and 8th overall, with just a few drivers ahead still to pit. Should easily clear Green, Murakami, Pavini and Campbell when those drivers do slot in, as I think we're watching Jason Green join the pit lane now.
Yeah, so Pavini and Murakami, who have been glued together from the start really, wanting to push this as long as possible. I doubt we're going to get too many more laps. I think you were saying earlier on we saw kind of 30-minute long stints for the drivers at Monza, so maybe we could go further. I mean, yeah, only 9.5 seconds worth of fuel being taken by some of the drivers. I think we were seeing about 14 seconds worth of fuel last time out, so maybe still 4 or 5 more laps possible. all these guys. We'll wait and see. The vast majority of the drivers have pitted already, however. Green just coming out of the pits. Is he ahead of Rodriguez? Remember, Rodriguez caught up to that pack earlier on, decided to go for the early pit stop, and he's pretty much exactly where he was before, so Rodriguez hasn't necessarily worked out for him there. He would have been hoping to get ahead of at least Green, but instead it looks like he's going to be at the back of that pack. After all, just the pace not quite there, had to deal with a lot of traffic in front of him, and if he is going to move his way up through the order, up into the top 10, he is going to have to do it on track.
Yeah, he's just split a couple of the back markers there, hasn't he? McCain just in front. Oh, I think he just got out of the way there, took an odd line into the turn 8 anyway. I think he might have moved over for them. As we're watching Arabian and Nom still at the head of the field, still yet to pit. Aero Nom just biding his time. I don't think he's overtaken anyone yet tonight. Off the line, claimed 5th place, and then has just sat there. Obviously gained those 3 places from the incident we saw midway through this race. Otherwise, just very calm and casual. I imagine doing the absolute bare minimum that he can do. As he watches Arabian through the end of lap 31. Back marker just in front. We're going to slot up the inside of. Just make sure he doesn't turn down on you as the second car through there. Nicely handled. These boys with a 19-second gap to the next car, but obviously they've got to make their pit stops, and then they'll end up quite a bit closer to Naselli and Lynn, I imagine. As we join Brewster again, going right round the outside of someone here. Is that Herzaki with him? Yeah, it is. Herzaki now on the outside. Oh, and slots across the nose there. Claims the high ground. Meanwhile, Bradshaw and Lopez are fighting still. These guys were with Brewster and Herzaki a couple of laps ago when we last saw them, side by side through the middle of the circuit, and there's still an overlap there for Bradshaw. Track's going to go the wrong way for him though shortly.
Ooh, change to the lead, sorry.
Takes the high ground.
Nom really from nowhere taking the lead, or was that just because Arabian coming into the pits? I'm not quite sure. I think that was just Arabian coming into the pits. Sorry for interrupting you there, Adam, but yeah, saw that change out in the lead, but yeah, I think that was just that awkward pit entry here at Tsukuba, and Nom now leads. Now, has he got much more fuel? Was he fuel saving this entire time? Can he go an extra couple of laps and really make that extra fuel pay? As we cut back to Bradshaw once again, trying to do this on Lopez for the second time. Here he comes to contact again, just so narrow around that part of the track, and Bradshaw again stays slightly ahead. So Arabian comes out of the pits, and he was stationed for 8.8. That's one of the shortest pit stops we've seen tonight. So Arabian was able to save a little bit of fuel as well, because he was 4th in line in that lead pack for a while, so he would have definitely saved some fuel. But yeah, it comes down to what Nom can do. It seems like Nom is going to come in on this lap, so he wasn't able to go 2 laps further, just the 1 lap. Question is, was that 1 lap good enough, and how long is his pit stop?
Yep, let's see how he got into the lane, how he exits the lane. As we watch Arabian now coming around the final corner, he'll hope to still have the lead in about 5 seconds time. Nom will be hoping to snatch it off him, and he's already at pit exit, you know, Aero Nom. As the camera pans round, there he is, and Aero Nom takes the lead. Arabian having to deal with a bike marker as well as they went into turn 1, but very definitively Aero Nom snatches the lead on lap 34 with only 6 minutes of racing remaining.
Yeah, it's really top quality there from Nom. I don't know if we could get the pit stop times up on screen so you can kind of compare everyone down the order, but I think Nom was about half a second faster, well, 0.2 of a second faster. That's interesting because he was about, should I say, half a second beforehand, so he gained sort of 1.3 seconds in that sequence. But you can see there in the pit lane, interestingly, not much faster, so maybe he got down to that pit lane speed a bit quicker than Arabian, and was just able to attack it that bit more. So really good pit entry and pit exit there for Nom, and that could be enough to win the race. Arabian just about within the draft, I think, 0.8 of a second behind, so he might be able to drag up close. Hopefully he does, because we want to see a close finish to this. We've only got 5 more minutes to go.
Yeah, the draft will certainly be in effect in that sort of range. Unfortunately, being as it is such a tight and twisty little circuit, you don't have the straights to make benefit of it, do you? Let's see if he can close in though. At the moment it seems to be holding steady at 8 seconds. Have we lost Naselli? I've seen Naselli suddenly disappear from the timing board.
It seemed to lose initially to Lin and then disappeared. See what happened? Is this a hardware failure or is this a driver error? Ooh.
That's hardware. You see a car suddenly straighten up and head straight off like that. Something's gone wrong on his end, hasn't it? So unfortunately for our pole sitter there, he's not going to claim the rewards tonight. Did all he needed in qualifying, took a fantastic pole, and has then been caught out in an incident not of his making, and now issues not of his making. Unless of course he's spilled a drink on top of his laptop or something.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah, I mean that's a horrendous thing to think. Really, yeah, very scary for that to happen if it did. But yeah, seemingly a hardware failure of some kind, as Ray is on the back of Santiago. This for 15th position. I think Ray's going to be close enough to overtake into turn 1. They've got Renders now just 0.6 of a second behind. You can see Renders going by over a second on that last lap, despite this being one of the shortest tracks on the entire calendar. And so much faster is Renders right now. Ray wants to beat Renders. Really, the best method to do that would be to overtake Santiago right away, but you can start to see as we run on board just the difficulties with overtaking around this track. Turn 1, the overwhelming best place to overtake, as the other hairpins are just a bit too tight. So Ray in fact loses a little bit of time there, and we'll have to regain using the draft down the back straight. Now Renders is right behind us, just behind.
Yeah, this is a really good run from Stevie Ray. Not to be unkind to him, but he's normally somewhere in the 20s and 30s, isn't he? Here he is, battling over 15th place overall, and really putting pressure on the number 219 with just a couple of laps to go. Be interested to see off the back of him how close Tom Renders is. He's only a few tenths away. These three are going to fight it out for the remaining few laps. There is Tom Renders, showing lots of interest in the two cars ahead of him. See if he can't work out a way past them. Meanwhile, Aero Nom at the front, last lap set a new fastest lap of a 1 minute .243. So if Arabian did have any hope of catching him, Nom's doing all that he can to dissuade him. Still only 7 tenths between them, but Arabian rapidly running out of laps now, unfortunately for him. We're watching now the battle for 4th position, Elson and Weiger. Around the tight turn 4 hairpin, using all the banking to slingshot off there on the run to 5. Weiger all over the back of him in the number 22. Down to turn 8. Oh, dearie me. Yeah, he did make contact. Oh, and he's gone round. Oh, Weiger. No. Panero shoots by. That's only cost him 1 place. But I was worried as they went onto the brakes. I thought he was getting a little bit close and deep on the brakes. And it came to fruition, all my fears. So we now join McCain down in 31st. He's got Laurie on his inside. Walbolt just in front of him. Gets a nice exit, plenty of speed off of there, and he's going to shoot past Walbolt from the looks of it on the run down to 9.
Yeah, it's good work there from McCain. It's just closed up, by the way, for the lead as well. Gets down to 4 tenths to a second. I know our timing screen says a little bit differently. I believe the gap is down to 4 tenths because on that last lap, Arabian was able to gain by 3 tenths to a second. And so this is the closest the gap has been since the pit stops. And this could be the one opportunity for Arabian, but is he a bit too far back? I think he might be a bit too far back for the overtake into turn 1. Maybe he needed 1 more lap to do it, because after turn 1 there are so few chances to overtake. Here we go then. Is the lunge possible? Is Nom going to have to go defensive? He's leaving himself a bit vulnerable here, but he does eventually close it off. and the corners are running out for Arabian. That was his big chance. Now getting a little bit slowed up. Arabian trying to see if there's any opportunity to get past. He's worked really hard to close that gap right close in the closing stages here. They shouldn't catch up to the traffic in the closing stages. If anything, that might help out Nom slightly, get a little bit of a draft. Arabian's got 2 more corners to get this done.
Yeah, that's a great run off the corner there, off of turn 5, 6 and 7, 2 quick flicks left, and into 8, oh, right round the outside. This is excellent racing. Oh, but he's just got onto the throttle a little bit too quick, run it out to the grass. I don't think he's got the exit that Aero Nom has. There are literally thousands between them as they chase it down the back straight into the final corner. Nom on the inside, he's got the high ground. Arabian's going to try it all the way around the outside. Keep it together, boys. Right out to the grass, Arabian! And Nom snatches it. Nom by 0.06 of a second at the line. It was fantastic racing.
What a finish. Going to be one of the finishes, I think, of 2022 on Apex Racing TV. And Nom gets it by a whisker over Arabian. I honestly thought Arabian was going to do it, but he just lost out. Murakami, well, Favini's going to win in the Spec 2.
I think
Murakami.
Sorry, Sam. I think Rodriguez is going slow. Just comes across the line there in the background in 12th. I think he was something like 9th at the start of this lap.
Oh, and Love has got the same problem. Maybe they both ran out of fuel.
Yeah, Love lets 3 by. That's Stevie Ray and Tom Renders round his outside. We mentioned that tenths would make the difference in the pits. I think some drivers have taken that a little bit too close to the grain. As we look at our race winner for the 2nd time this season, Aero Nom in the number 78 snatches it by a matter of 100ths of a second in one of the most thrilling finishes that I've experienced in the combox. Let's watch it on replay. At this point I thought Arabian had thrown it all away, Sam. He seemed to have gone that deep and that wide out onto the grass.
Yeah, and then he sort of had better straight line speed, didn't he? Maybe a bit of a side draft, getting the benefit of that. And then I thought at this point it would be Arabian, but you can just see he was on the power a little bit too early. Had to get out of the throttle a couple of times, and even with getting out of the throttle, he was still right onto the grass and couldn't get the pace through. It was a 1-corner shootout pretty much between the pair of them. And Aero Nom just using that experience. He didn't overtake anyone for that entire race, did he, Nom? Started 5th, finished 1st, didn't actually overtake anyone, though, out on track. And that's just a classic champion's performance there, and it marks his 2nd race win of the season, even though it was very different to his first.
There we go, results up on screen for you all at home. Aero Nom snatches another victory, comes home just with a matter of 0.06 between himself and Ferenz Arabian, who kept him honest side by side throughout that race. Rongshi Lin claims the final position on the podium, picking up places from the incidents in front of him. Steve Elson in 4th, ahead of Marco Pinero, who managed to recover from that incident into turn 1. Ended up 15 seconds off the lead when he'd spent the first 30 minutes pretty much 1500ths off the lead. Matthias Weiger, we saw spin out in the late stages there, recovers to 6th place ahead of Aidan Campbell. Andre Favini is our Spec 2 winner for the night, finishing 8th place overall ahead of Evandro Dantas. And Chris Murakami, once again, our Masters winner in 10th place ahead of Jason Green. Jesus Rodriguez losing a few positions, we expect, because of fuel problems at the end there. Olo Santiago in 13th even, sorry. Stevie Ray comes home 14th. An excellent drive for our series founder. Tom Renders home in 15th ahead of Andrew Love. Samuel Dick, Marcus Burkett, Hugh Simpkins in 19th ahead of Miro Haratsky. Paul Jackson, Adam Bradshaw and Jim Brewster were into drivers who were a lap or more down already. The nature of this small circuit, Nico Schuck comes home in 24th place ahead of Joshua Flores, James Lopez, Bob Kern and Gianni Longini. In 29th, our Spec 2 driver Alan McCain ahead of Gary Walbolt. Tom Laurie joins us for the first time tonight, comes home in 31st ahead of Jeff Cantor. Ryan Flagg, Artillerero in 34th ahead of Kurt Nunez. Edgar Sanchinelli, Maurizio Naselli unfortunately finishes up 37th overall. What a disaster after that disconnect. Brian Short home in 38th ahead of Michael Vaughan. Austin Winner in 40th place Another driver victim to an incident tonight. Todd Hansen in 41st, Guillermo Cravo in 42nd, Antonio Reyes, Aaron Vogel, Jason Perry down in 45th, Andreas Bertoni, and drivers who didn't even make it to the end of the first lap, Flavio Andalo and Chris Montgomery round out your 48 drivers. So we've got some guys waiting in the interview area. Sam, I'll leave it to you to select your first one.
Yeah, I'll drag up Aaron Nom once again because he was our race winner for the second time this season. Congratulations out there, Aero. What a close finish. Your heart must have been racing on that last lap.
Not really, but yeah, it was very close. Going to the last lap in the first turn, I saw the car is going too fast and he's going to spin, so I already took it very easy. And Barnes got really close already in the turn 1, and then few corners later I blocked the front tires and he got even closer. And finally in the hairpin, side by side, yeah, I don't know. It was so close.
It really was. And talk us through kind of your strategy in the first half of the race, because we saw you in 5th position for the most part, sort of just waiting behind. The guys in front seem to all be racing, but you just seem to be sort of waiting behind in 5th place. What was kind of the logic behind that?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have speed this week. Also had some issues in the quali. I got disconnected twice, so I didn't push really hard, because when I'm behind, I'm not taking anyone out if I lose the connection again, and it was safer. Plus, I save fuel, and yeah.
We've had 2 very different circuits so far this season. We've had Monza, which is really high speed. Now I've had Tsukuba, which is very tight and twisty. You've got a lot of experience in this car. Which sort of circuits do you like in this car? Do you like these really tight, twisty circuits, or do you like sort of the Grand Prix circuits instead?
Yeah, usually I like shorter tracks like this one, but I don't know, maybe it's the track, because there is no grip in the tarmac even at cold temperatures, so there is no feel in this car, and all week I couldn't find any setup, so I went back to the baseline, and that sort of worked, but otherwise next week will be, I think, one of my best tracks.
We wish you the best of luck for that one, Eri. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank the league sponsors, the admins, all the drivers, and you there guys in the boat.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, and best of luck at making it 3 out of 3 next time out.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Aaron Nom there, your race winner for the second time this season.
Yep, I think I'm going to grab our second place finisher, Friends Arabian. Friends, welcome to the box. Drastically close finish for you tonight. How was that from your point of view?
It was extremely exciting. My heart was racing, and I was just clenching my teeth the whole way through.
Yeah, you spent the opening phases of that race in a group of 5 before the front 3 all sort of snookered themselves out of contention. Were you worried about an incident early in the race?
I knew that I was within the pace, but maybe not the fastest on track. I went for a more setup based on exits, and that shown at the end where I could drive out of the corner a little better, but I'd be fighting understeer the whole race. So I stick back, saved my fuel, and when, like you said, snookered themselves out, I just felt like I could try and see where would be my times, and I was able to keep away from Yangtze Lin, and the rest is as history.
Yeah, we saw in the pit stop phase, yourself and Aero came in very, very late, didn't you? Laps 32, 33. When Aero came out of the pits, did your heart sink a little bit to see him ahead?
Not at all. He stayed behind me for 5 to 8 laps. I'm not sure exactly, but in the end, I was within his draft, and when there's draft, there's an option, and there's a chance.
Yeah, you stuck just about 7 or 8 tenths behind him, didn't you, for the last few laps? And then right at the end, you seemed to close up very quickly in those last 2 laps to have a chance at him. Was that your own doing, or did he catch a back marker at the wrong time?
The back markers were not giving us too much space. There was some of them, but I think I've tackled a few during the lap, so I'm sorry to whoever. But yeah, it was fun, and probably I wouldn't have caught up without the draft slash back markers.
Yeah, it was always going to be a feature tonight, wasn't it? 45 cars on such a small circuit, lots of opportunities to trip over one another. Were you ever close to any other incidents?
No, it was mostly a procession for myself. My pit stop was good. I didn't lock up my tires. I just kept my head down and tried to keep the tires happy. And it showed at the end where I was able to, fight on the last lap. And well, I kept the foot in a little too long and went outside.
Yeah, was there any point where you were about to punch the air there? You must have thought you'd just about snatched it away, didn't you?
Not really, but my eyes opened when he locked up going into 3. That's where, I felt there was an option. There was a possibility. Before that, unless you're able to get on the inside on this track, you're always on the back foot. And I'd love a pass on the outside, but it's difficult. You have to trust the guy on the inside, and Aero kept his line. We had a 0x, and it's just me traffic wide at that point.
Lovely. Great work tonight, friends. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And Sam, I think you've got our Masters victor for tonight.
Yes, Chris Murakami now joins us in the commentary box. Congratulations, Chris. 10th place, similar to where you finished last time out as well. And seemingly a really good few bats as well. You're in the wars throughout, particularly your bats with Favini seem to be an absolute epic.
Yeah, I had a few guys a little bit faster than me and back of me, and I was holding up a pretty big line. A lot of pressure. Those guys were great though. They didn't. There was no nosing. They were really clean.
Yeah, that was really good to see from you guys. We didn't see too much of you and Dantus. Unfortunately, there was a very close battle for the lead right at the end, but it got very close between yourself and Dantus right at the close. Do you think if you had maybe an extra lap, do you think you could have maybe got into P9?
Oh, it's such a difficult track that if he doesn't, even if they screw up, if they just hold the line, it's just very difficult to get around. So no, the guys had a hard time getting around me, and vice versa. It's a tough track.
For sure, it looks very tricky out there. Do you hope that the series visits this track in the near future once again?
For myself, not really. I mentioned last week it probably was my least favorite track. Florence, he gave me a few good tips that really helped me, and a nice draft during quali, so I got to congratulate him. But no, I could go without this one for a while.
Well, fortunately, we're not going to go back to it at least for the rest of this season, so that one is chalked up for the next 10 rounds at least. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I want to thank the Lord for getting my 91-year-old mom out of the hospital from COVID, so she's survived that, which is awesome. And like I said, thank you guys, and thanks Florence for really helping me out this week.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for the rest of the guys for driving as clean as they did, and yeah, it was a great race.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the first position once again, and see you back next week.
Okay, thank you.
That was Chris Murakami there, your Masters winner for tonight, now with a strong lead in that championship as well. And I think, Adam, that pretty much wraps us up for this round 2 of the season.
Yep, we're coming to the end of our broadcast now. If you've enjoyed what you've seen tonight, obviously give us a like on the YouTube channel. or subscribe to us. You'll see plenty more racing. Beating that, there's the Apex Racing TV Facebook page for you to go and check out, or give us a message on Twitter. And Sam, I don't know if you've got some more racing that's coming up for us tonight?
I think tonight that might be about it for us, so we'll have a quick look. I know tomorrow we've got the Mazda Cup back again to the end of that season, and always very entertaining stuff in there. So yeah, no more races tonight, but then yeah, Mazda Cup tomorrow. Rick Motec Classic Sprint Series as well, that will be more Mazdas as well, that will be tomorrow night, and really good timings for any American viewers. ARL GT3 Trophy returns, that's going to be 50 odd cars, that's on Tuesday evening, so make sure to watch that one. Great Esports Racing League as well is soon after that, and then also Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 VRS Super Series, a couple of really good rounds so far, that'll be on Saturday evening. So make sure to check out the channel and watch all those streams.
Yep, plenty of action for everyone at home, so tune in throughout the week. I'll bring you some more racing, hopefully just as action-packed as what we've seen tonight. So we bid you farewell from Tsukuba, round 2 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, presented by RaceVoice. I've been Adam Hadfield, joined on cameras by Mark Tranter and Sam Fitzpatrick. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good night, good evening.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.